Congrats, Parvati, on a hard-fought game. Sorry it didn't go your way. As you've been able to watch it all back, what's your biggest takeaway or the thing that sticks out to you the most?
I think my biggest takeaway is that there are so many ways to win, and I feel like I have won. This was a very different experience for me. The only other game I've ever played is Survivor. So coming out and playing Traitors with all of the different casts of characters and showing up day after day with this feeling of I'm going to be found out literally every moment in my mind, thinking everybody knows, I'm so paranoid, and continuing to play through that. It just demonstrated to me what I'm capable of and that I can, really thrive in these different arenas.
Now, that was a tough last roundtable. At what moment, as you're sitting there, did it hit you? Oh, I think I'm going home today. Or was it earlier?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. I thought I was going home the previous day with the sacrifice twist. So I was just doing everything I possibly could to try to turn the winds off of me to anybody else. I didn't necessarily want them to get Phaedra, but yeah, I had I had a sinking feeling that whole day, but it was also kind of mixed with relief because the lie was very hard for me to hold for that long. So the emotion that you see me demonstrate the last day, I mean, it's real emotion because I had been carrying so much and holding so much for the whole duration of the game. So knowing that this could be my last day, it was like kind of a little bit of a relief as well as a sadness. I was so sad. I didn't want to be done. It was a really fun experience and like also psycho.
Yeah, I bet. If you could go back, what's one move you would have made differently or one thing you would have done differently to last longer?
Well, it's very clear there was a turning point moment with the Peter lie about the shield and the turret with Dan being like, we have to murder Bergie. And me telling Dan, he's Peter's lying. Like, if I would have stood my ground more forcefully and had us vote, had us murder a different person, then I think I could have stayed in the game much longer.
Speaking of Dan, you guys built a really tight alliance and a good friendship over the course of the game. When we talked to Dan, he said that he wanted to take you to the end, never would have turned on you in the fire of truth. Would you have done the same?
Wow. I didn't know about Dan. I was like, what is up with this guy? He's coming, coming towards me in the castle saying, you're my number one. I'll take you to the end. I'm loyal to you through and through. And I was like, okay, because no one else was doing that. And everyone else seemed to be suspicious of me from like the very beginning. So I was very happy that Dan was saying that to me. And I was happy to have that connection with him. And I was sort of feeling him out to see, is this real? Can I trust this? Seems like I can't really trust anybody. And at that circle of truth, had Dan and I been at the end, um, you know, I don't know what I would have done. I was really playing it moment by moment out there. It was so difficult to plan multiple steps ahead because people were constantly attacking me and accusing me. So I was like walled up, but then also like, oh, okay, I gotta like defend myself here, or I have to ask a question here. So it required a lot of mental energy just to make it through the day. And then when I got back to my room at the castle at night, I was like, okay, now how do I think through, like, what if this scenario happened? I was so tired by then. I was just like, how do I unwind and just let myself sleep? So, oh, that's a hard question. I'd like to say, honestly, I really don't know. I would have, if Dan had done something that like really demonstrated that he was legit and would not have cut me at the end, then I probably would have taken the risk and like not cut him at the end. But if he hadn't, I don't know if I would have trusted it enough. I might have cut him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what were your thoughts on Dan targeting Phaedra and that tipping people off to that she might be a traitor?
Actually, that was a big demonstration that Dan was in my corner because it, like, my name was on the block that day. It could have been easily, the votes could have swung to me if Dan had been like, if he had just not said anything at the round table, probably Peter would have been loud and hard coming at me. And I think he could have gotten the votes to banish me. So Dan throwing Phaedra under the bus, and then Phaedra rebutting that and targeting Dan again, I think completely saved me that round table. So I do think Dan kind of fell on his own sword there to save me.
What was it like working with Phaedra?
Phaedra, I knew that Phaedra was loyal to the Traitors because she was so pissed at me when I said the housewives. She was so mad and it was real. And I was like, oh, interesting. And that was my first kind of clue that she was not going to throw the Traitors under the bus. And then when Dan came after her, she was furious. And she's like, I'm playing an honest game. I'm like playing a fair game. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, she's not going to come after me. But I had heard from other people, like Janelle in the castle had said, oh, Phaedra's saying your name. So I was like, well, what's that about? So Phaedra was kind of a question mark for me in the castle. But then when she didn't come after me in the round table, when it was me versus her, I was like, yeah, she really was playing loyal to the Traitors. And I liked that. I thought that was like commendable. And I also didn't come after her too at the round table because I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, you have to have someone in the game that you're like, standing for. I didn't want to be like just for myself. That's boring. So I thought she was excellent in the castle. She was excellent at playing the part that was required for a traitor to play, to have people believe that she is not a threat.
One of your more interesting relationships in the game was with Peter. How much of you believed when he said that he believed you in this last episode?
I was like, I don't know about this guy. But it was so funny in the kitchen because we were both laying it on so thick and we were so intense. And I was like tearful. And he's like so sincere. He oozes sincerity. And I'm just like, stop with the sincerity. But we were just matching each other with that level of intensity and sincerity. So it was kind of fun. It was like a cat and mouse game with Peter and I for like a few days, like a few banishment roundtable rounds, really. So it was kind of like, oh, you have to have that kind of dynamic to make it fun in these games. So I liked that he brought that.
You tried to recruit Peter. Do you feel like it was his mistake for saying no, or your mistake for even thinking that he would say yes?
Oh, I think it was his mistake for saying no. He should have said no. I mean, he should have said yes. I I didn't have another move to make at that point. Like, they were all on to me. I figured anyone who I recruited or killed, it was like, wasn't going to make enough of an impact for me to create enough chaos to get enough suspicion off of me or get them to look at someone else. So that's why I was like, well, let's just do this with Peter and see. Maybe he's playing the game so hard. Maybe he'll say yes. I thought it was a very big mistake for him to say no, because he could have saved his friends. Like, as a traitor, you do have the power to keep people safe. So they were really misguided, that clique, thinking they're all faithfuls, thinking they have enough power to all of them make it to the end. Some of them will be sacrificed. So if Peter turns into a traitor, he can keep Bergie safe, Trishelle safe, and then he can win at the end. But I think he's not, I think he was very caught up in his this sort of archetype of the savior, where he's like, I'm going to be the savior of all my friends and carry us to the end and win this the right way, which is so bachelor of him.
It is. Well, Parvati, it's great to talk to you. Congrats on the game that you did play, and excited to see what happens next.
Thank you.